Hello and welcome to the MJ Take podcast presented by Sports Fan Entertainment. I am your host with the absolute most, MJ. Thank you for joining me here on the MJ Take podcast. This is the pilot of the podcast. It may be canceled after this, but I doubt it because last I checked, I'm the owner, I'm the founder, I get to do whatever the hell I want to do. So what is this thing? What is the MJ Tape podcast? Well, it's presented by Sports Fan Entertainment, one of the largest sports opinion YouTube channels out there, over 15,000 subscribers and growing every day, mostly NFL content, but also NBA content provided over there. And a lot of you are probably listening on that YouTube channel. But you can also expect for this podcast to be on iTunes and Spotify very soon. iTunes within the next week, and I'll give you guys a link to that whenever it is up, and Spotify very soon because their verification process takes a little bit longer. Also on Soundcloud, if you're one of those indie people out there that like to listen to stuff on SoundCloud. So, the MJ Tape podcast, what is it? So, we're coming from a sports channel, so we're going to be mostly sports here, but really, it's my podcast. This is the MJ Tape podcast, and I'm going to talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. And we're going to start the podcast today by talking about Game of Thrones. As Game of Thrones, one of the biggest television series in the past decade, I would actually argue the largest in terms of popularity, in terms of maybe not the number of people watching, but the social media buzz, the conversation, everything around it. Game of Thrones reigns supreme. We're going to start with that because I have some tea to dish on that. And then we're going to get to some sports. We're going to talk about the Raptors-Bucks game yesterday, double overtime. That was an entertaining game. Warriors going up 3-0 on the Portland Trailblazers, and Kevin Durant crying once again. Oh man, Kevin Durant, you got to stop with this stuff. More Los Angeles Lakers drama as Magic Johnson is going from show to show, making the rounds, complaining about Jeannie Buss, complaining about this, complaining about that. My Lakers look to be in big trouble. And then we're going to get out of here. So we're going to have a short podcast, just an intro podcast, probably 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And then there'll be an hour long after that. Every single Monday, the MJ Take podcast on Spotify, iTunes, eventually, but immediately on YouTube and SoundCloud. Links will be available in the YouTube description when these links become available. So with all of that said, I will also say this podcast will be, I'll say PG-13. It may sometimes get a little M-rated, but I do have a reputation to uphold, and I will not lose my job over some stuff that I say in this podcast, but we're going to get a little raunchy from time to time. I hope to get some people on here that have some interesting stuff to say. I'd love to have someone come on here and teach me how to pick up women because I don't know how to do it, so I want to go into that. I want to get into a lot of stuff. It's going to be a fun podcast. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. So Game of Thrones season 8. Okay, now here's the thing. Let me go ahead and preface this conversation with this. Okay, it's going to be a spoiler discussion, so let's start with that. But if you're one of those people that are like, I hate Game of Thrones, I've never watched it, or maybe I tried watching the first episode, I don't get it, anyone that likes it is stupid, you're stupid, this show is stupid. Now, I love the contrarian point of view. I love it. I love being the hot take guy. That's my move. I understand it. But people, just give Game of Thrones a true legitimate shot. I know the first season can at least initially be hard to digest, right? There's a lot of characters, a lot of locations, a lot of backstory. It may seem like much isn't really going on, but give it 2 seasons, just 2. Just try to give it 2, and then you'll circle back around to seasons 1 and 2 and saying, oh my God, I didn't even really appreciate how great these seasons were. Like, I remember I initially tried Game of Thrones. I watched the first 2 episodes. It didn't sit with me. And that was back in, I want to say, 2014. Came back around the next year, tried it again, and then fell in love with it. It just takes time, and then all of us can agree, the Game of Thrones fans, that season 7s and season 8 were not great, but man, are we still grateful that we saw seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Those were some of the greatest seasons in the history of television, people. Season 4 Game of Thrones, my goodness, I still have my blankets that are covered in wet dreams of me watching season 4, thinking about season 4, the greatest season of television I've ever seen. Breaking Bad season 4 is also up there. Dexter season 2 is also up there for me. Lost season 1 is up there for me. But man, Game of Thrones season 4, if you can just make it there, there is no way you will not be entertained. There is no way you will say that this is not great television by season 4. It'll take you a while, but at the end of it, you will love it. And then when you get to season 8, you're going to say, what the hell? So with that said, let's say what the hell. As we get into my review, my recap, my reaction, my thoughts, my analysis of Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 6, The Iron Throne, which is now no longer. Again, this is a spoiler discussion, people. If you do not want to be spoiled, skip ahead in the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll provide a timestamp in the comments or description below. Okay, so we started off okay. In fact, I'll even say we started off great. And even before we get into this episode discussion, I have to go back to the previous episode. I was absolutely fine with the turn of Daenerys into the Mad Queen, into the evil queen. It's been telegraphed for a number of seasons, and those that argue that the author of the books, the author of A Song of Ice and Fire, George R.R. Martin, is not going to have Daenerys turn evil, you are not paying attention. I will sit here and I will guarantee that Daenerys will turn Mad Queen in A Song of Ice and Fire, either book 6 or book 7, and I probably would say book 6, probably sooner rather than later. I guarantee that was always going to happen. I saw that happening. Now, was the turn a little premature? Yes, but the reason I will be okay with it is because this whole season is rushed. There's only 6 episodes for this season. We have to get moving. It was time for her to turn, and she turned, and I was happy with it. So we start the final episode with Tyrion and Jon walking through the absolute destroyed King's Landing. Tyrion, Peter Dinklage, doing a great job acting, showing his thoughts. You see this guy walking, his back, flesh being burned off of his back. You see burnt children in the streets. Tyrion goes to find Cersei and Jaime, sees their bodies covered in rubble. You see Jaime's hand. You see Tyrion getting so emotional. Peter Dinklage trying to win that Emmy yet again. I'm not sure if he's going to get it because the season has not been long enough or really compelling enough, but he'll at least be nominated just for this one individual scene. And yes, they are dead, so luckily we do not have a Walking Dead situation where Glenn came back out of nowhere. And sorry, spoiler alert if you're watching Walking Dead. So I was great with that. I was also okay with, Grey Worm killing the rest of the Lannisters army, saying Daenerys wants us to do this. It was all great. Okay, then we have Daenerys coming out. We have the dragon behind her. Great cinematography. She's giving her speech. Tyrion quits. Tyrion gets taken away. We're doing all right. We're doing okay. Okay, Jon talks to Tyrion. All right, Tyrion's saying we gotta get this done. You're the only one that can get this done. We gotta get her off of this Iron Throne. She's gone loco. We got to do something to get this bitch off of the Iron Throne. I messed up. I betrayed my best friend Varys, and I would have wished that Varys would have had a better end because Varys was one of my best characters, and he got up very quick, and I thought and by the way, what the hell was Varys writing the letter? Remember Varys was writing a letter last episode, and you saw him writing something about Jon being the true heir, and we're, meant to believe that he sent that out to his little birdies, and the little birdies sent that out to the realm, okay? Why did that not have any repercussions in this episode? We're gonna get to that later, but that really bothers me. But anyway, so Tyrion betrayed his best friend. He's like, Jon, you gotta get this done. Jon's like, I love her. And this whole Jon Dany love has been forced. It's been rushed. Look, we all bought that John fell in love with Ygritte. Okay, they were cuddling north of the wall. They had a good banter. It was great. It was beautiful. I love Témérion Ygritte, and that's why Kit Harington, the actor that plays Jon Snow, married Leslie, whatever her name is, the actress that plays Ygritte in real life, because it was hot. Okay, we were all into it. You know nothing, Jon Snow as he goes down on her. It was great. It was awesome. Jon then kills Daenerys in another anticlimactic death in this Game of Thrones final season. Now, I was okay with the Night King death, and people say that was anticlimactic, and I don't think that was very anticlimactic. If you ask me, the Night King was slowly walking up to Bran, slowly pulling out his sword, slowly doing this, slowly doing that, and that was at the very end of the episode. People, that's a climax. That's the absolute climax. That's climax. Daenerys' death, okay, that's anticlimax. That is the absolute epitome of anticlimax. That happened, I want to say, maybe the 35, maybe 40-minute mark of the episode, maybe 45-minute at best. That's anticlimax, because that was not the climactic point of the episode at all. It had just come after a lull in terms of the Tyrion and Jon conversation. The tone was very somber, very neutral at best. There was no climax, no heightened emotions, none. So this was an anticlimactic death. And I know there's not many ways that they could have done this, considering the fact that, Daenerys is not a great warrior or anything, but she should have at least, been a little cognizant or aware or a little weary of Jon potentially, trying to kill her in that moment. I know she's vulnerable, she loves him, but just a quick knife to the heart and then that's it. Drogon shows up, Drogon's pissed, and I personally thought what would have been better, because Drogon then, he absolutely inflames the Iron Throne, and he doesn't know what this thing is. He doesn't know the symbolism between the Iron Throne or of the Iron Throne. He's never even seen Daenerys sit on the Iron Throne. He doesn't know that she even really loves this thing. Drogon hasn't even seen a throne, as far as I know. I mean, what kind of throne has Drogon seen? How does he know that this is the throne? That doesn't make any sense to me. What I personally would have done in this scenario, I would have had Dany, okay, catch Jon trying to stab her, okay? What the hell? Call Drogon over. She tries to tell Drogon Dracarys and kill Jon. Drogon refuses to do it. Drogon's like, no, I know he's a Targaryen. I said that he's a Targaryen. I like Jon, whatever. I'm not doing it. Daenerys is pissed. Then Daenerys either tries to make a leap at Jon or tries to go after Jon or whatever. She fails, and then Jon gets it done in a little more climactic fashion. Just a little more, but they failed there. And then Jon, okay, we have to believe after this scene, because Drogon goes away with Daenerys' body, right? He's like, see you later. I'm going to Valyria. I'm going to Narnia. Who knows where he's going? So he leaves Daenerys' body. No one knows what the hell happened. No one knows. I don't know where the Unsullied were. The only one that was protecting Daenerys, the only one that was close to Daenerys in this scene was Drogon outside of the corridor. Okay, so Jon must have confessed, yeah, I killed Daenerys. Take me in, Unsullied. He could have just said, yeah, I don't know where that bitch went. I don't know. But guess what? I'm Aegon Targaryen. What's up? How y'all doing? All right, I'll give y'all some land. I don't know where she went. She went crazy. She said she's done this and that. And maybe you could have said they found some blood in the ashes or something, but I would have covered it up. Now, Jon's honorable, so maybe you say his honor got to him. Okay, maybe. But I thought that would have been a better out. But even then, they still had a chance to fix it. Until we got to the end here. And I've defended this season more than most people. I truly have. But then we get to the end here. Not even the end, but we get to the meeting, the council, all the high lords and lordesses, okay, lords and ladies of Westeros, okay, they all show up with the 7 kingdoms. We got Sansa, we got Arya, we got Bran, and when Bran was there, I should have known there was a damn problem, but damn it, I didn't see it coming. We got Rob and Aaron, okay? You know, the titty boy that used to suck on his mama's titty. He grew up and he's looking like Justin Bieber. He's looking good. You know, we got the Uncle Stark who's acting like a moron, whatever. We got this old white dude, you know, with the white hair, looks like, you know, Santa Claus, or looks like the Pirate of the Caribbean dude, whatever his name is, Smee. Okay, we got all that going on. And they choose Bran, okay? They choose Bran to be on the Iron Throne, and you gotta be kidding me. Now, look, I understand Jon Snow being on the Iron Throne, it's predictable. Yes, he was the prince that was promised because he eventually killed Daenerys, and you can argue, I guess, Arya might have been the princess that was promised because she killed the Night King. But look, he was the Aegon Targaryen. He was the guy. He's been the hero throughout the entire damn series. Yes, it is predictable. I will throw my hands up and I will say it is predictable for Jon to be on the Iron Throne after the damn series. At the end of the series, for him to be on the Iron Throne, that is predictable. But sometimes, especially at the end of a television series or at the end of a movie, the predictable thing is the right thing. It's the only thing. It's the good thing. Okay? Simba taking over Pride Rock and being the king at the end of The Lion King, while predictable, is great. Like, that's just the only way you should do it. T'Challa, okay, being the Black Panther, being king of Wakanda at the end of Black Panther, while predictable, is still great. At the end of any Avengers movie outside of Infinity War, the Avengers winning and defeating the villain at the end of the day, yes, it is predictable, but it's still great because that's how the story is supposed to end. Now, I'm also okay with the villain winning. I'm okay with Anakin Skywalker turning heel, going bad guy, going up in the end, being Darth Vader, and ushering in a dark era. So, if Daenerys would have said, okay, you know what, I'm killing Jon. Somehow Arya tries to kill her at the very end of the episode. She kills Arya. Sansa becomes an independent kingdom or something. And we're led to believe that they conflict after the series is over, and Daenerys continues her conquest. And Tyrion is in prison, and he's having a conversation with somebody, I don't care who, and he's like, this is what happens when we give someone too much power, and we try to empower, people to, with fire and blood. This is what we get. We messed up. We got to make sure this never happens again. And Samuel Tarly writes a book, and they have some little small rebellion, and you're supposed to believe that there's some hope in the realm, okay? But you can tell that Daenerys is ushering in a dark era. I'm cool with that, right? I'm cool with the end of Episode 3 Star Wars, right? It's a bad ending. Darth Vader, hey, he's here now. Yeah, Obi-Wan defeated Anakin, but Darth Vader's here now. Palpatine won. I'm cool with bad endings, and this is Game of Thrones. It doesn't need to have a happy ending, but one of the two forces needs to win, not this random cripple boy that ain't been doing diddly poo. And I hate Bran Stark. I hated Bran Stark. I hated the Bran Stark storylines. I never cared for them. Three-Eyed Raven crap. I didn't care for it a little bit. I didn't care for it whenever they did it. Okay, I'm like, okay, he's going to be a three-eyed raven. What is that? Does that mean he's going to be able to kick some ass? No, he just sees a future in the past, which means that he's like Doctor Strange, but on steroids. And he just knows anything every way, and they make it seem as if the future realities that he sees are definite. They don't even need to be manipulated, whereas at least, Doctor Strange saw multiple scenarios, and we need to do this and that to make sure that this scenario can happen this way. No, he just knows the future. I know what's gonna happen, so I'm just gonna chillax when the Night King's coming after me, just roll back my eyes, do whatever the hell I want to do, go on heroin or whatever he was doing, rolling back his eyes. He hasn't done anything. He's been the least compelling major character in this entire series. I would have preferred Reek on the throne. I would have preferred Gendry. Okay, if Gendry would have went up on the Iron Throne, like, let's say Tyrion says, I had a lot of time to think about this. Who's a better king than, Robert Baratheon's now vilified son, right? Because Daenerys is the one that said, you're no longer considered a bastard. I'm going to give you Lord of this. You're good. And then Tyrion says, well, you know what? That makes him now next in line. And everyone's like, wow, that's true. And then Gendry's like, oh yeah, well, I guess I'm the king of Westeros. I would have been better with that. Because at least Gendry would have been like, I don't know what to do though. I can't do this. And then Arya would have said, it's all right. We'll be right by your side. And then Sansa say you have the North behind you. And then Tyrion's gonna be your hand. And then Bran's like, I'll be your master of whispers. I'll fly around, three-eyed raven looking at this and that and whisper in your ear and tell you everything that you need to know. That would have been better. Even Gendry, being the king of Westeros would have made more sense than this. But they go with Bran. I mean, Bran, even Arya. There's literally no one that would have been worse. I mean, no one. I mean, relatively speaking, okay, Robin Arryn would have been worse than Bran, but Bran stinks. And I know that Bran is the first viewpoint, aka POV character in the books, and I'm currently reading the books. And he's actually playing a much more large role in the books, which I understand. But in the series, he hasn't done diddly poo. He wasn't in season 5 like completely at all. He became three-eyed raven. No one knows what that means. Like, I'm surprised, like, Robin Arryn and, Smee off to the side there weren't like, he became the what? The three-eyed raven, what is that? He can see the future. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe it's urban legend in Westeros, but I don't think people really believe in that crap. He hasn't proven anything. They just know Bran fell off of a damn tower. And he's just so melancholy. He has no acting ability, or at least he doesn't portray it. I'm sure Isaac, Armstead, whatever, is a fine actor. I could have done what he did this season. I mean, come on, just sitting there saying, oh, the things we do for love. Okay, and then he ends up on the Iron Damn Throne. And look, again, I hate this. I absolutely hate this. Jon or Dany should have been on the damn Iron Throne. Or at the very least, if they would have said no more kings and queens, it's a council, it's a representative, not democracy, but it's like a republic, and we all vote on crap, that still might have been better to me than this. Bran makes no sense. And I'm sure he's going to be a fine king. He's going to be like Aslan. He's all knowing. He's going to be great as a king. But in terms of the story, it made no sense. It made no sense. And he literally said a couple of weeks ago, I can never be the Lord of Winterfell. I can never be that. I'm the three-eyed raven. Well, then be the three-eyed raven. And now he's the three-eyed raven and the damn king. And it makes no sense. They set up the three-eyed raven to be a guy that doesn't want to be king of crap, just a guy flying around. He can give information to try to help people, to try to help the universe, try to help the realm against the Night Walkers and try to advance the interests of the people. But being king doesn't make any damn sense. It should have just been Jon Snow. It's predictable, yes. It's predictable, yes. And Jon Snow would have said, I don't want it. And it would have been okay because Arya would have been by his side, Sansa by his side, then Sansa doesn't have to secede. Okay, Sansa secedes and Yara Greyjoy is like, well, she seceded. I don't want to secede. No, of course Yara Greyjoy is going to want to secede if Sansa secedes, especially they're on the Iron Islands. They don't care what's going on. So it didn't make sense. It just should have been Jon Snow. Okay, it just should have been. Yes, predictable. Just as predictable as Black Panther being a king at the end of his movie. Just as predictable as Luke Skywalker, winning at the end of Return of the Jedi. Just as predictable as almost every single, major story in the history of stories, okay, in the history of literature, because sometimes the predictable thing is just the right thing. And if you're going to go unpredictable, you can go with the villain winning, then go with Daenerys winning, then go with Cersei winning. Like, if this whole series would have ended with, let's say, the Night King ended up being the big bad. The Night King wins the Battle of Winterfell. A couple of them make it out. Most of them die. Like, let's say Sansa died down in the crypt. Tyrion died down in the crypt. Only ones get away. Jon, Dany, maybe somehow Jamie gets away, maybe Brienne, and let's say that's it. Let's go and say everyone else dies. John Danny tried to go down to King's Landing, tried to beg Cersei for help. Cersei's like, nope, I'm not doing it. Night King continues to come down. He takes over the Iron Islands. He takes over King's Landing. And then at the end, you see Cersei and then John and Danny were trying to help out at the very end, last-ditch effort down in Dorne. And then Cersei somehow also made it out of King's Landing because she actually had a backup plan, and she should have had one for King's Landing in this episode 5 anyway. And then she has a conversation with John and Danny like, I messed up. I really messed up. My brothers are dead. I really messed up. She cries. She gets emotional. She dies. The Night King takes over, and that's it. It's a horrible ending, but you know what? It would have taught us something. This is what happens when we all have our little squabbles. Everyone wants the damn throne, and no one can, come together against a common threat. I would have loved Game of Thrones season 6 or season 8, episode 6, and the whole season in general. Night King, total badass, took over the realm. That's the end of humanity as we know it. A couple of them can survive. Let's say a couple of them ended up sneaking up north. That way you have, a little bit of hope. Let's say John and Danny have a baby. Somehow Samuel Tarly takes it up north or whatever. And you can believe that that's the new hope, that maybe this kid can, do whatever and this and that and help save the realm in the future. Like some new hope. That way some people can have some hope here. That would have been fine. But this crap with Bran. I mean, I feel like Soldier Boy. Bran, it just doesn't make any damn sense. So Bran Stark, he's on the damn Iron Throne, and everything after that I was okay with. Brienne edited Jaime's Wikipedia page. That was whatever. She's in the friend zone more than ever. And that was mainly it. I'm just really upset about this Bran thing. I never cared about Bran at all, not even a little bit. Sometimes I never cared about Hodor either. It just the whole Bran crap, anything associated with Bran, I never cared about. And not even a little bit. I thought he was a cute kid, and then he grew up and he looks worse as a full-grown man than he did a kid. I thought that was gonna be a good-looking dude when he grew up, and he looks like an emo dude. I don't like how this Isaac dude looks. Anyway, so that's Game of Thrones. It's a disappointment, but it's whatever. So that's the end for our Game of Thrones discussion. Let's move on to the Toronto Raptors versus the Milwaukee Bucks. We had a double overtime game last night. By far the best game of the conference finals thus far, although the Warriors and Blazers did have an entertaining game too, so I'll give that to them, but this was far and away, and luckily we will actually have a series that goes past 4 games. Now it still may not go past 5 games, but at least have some sort of competition going on now, as the Toronto Raptors are able to defeat the Milwaukee Bucks. And how about Giannis Antetokounmpo with only 12 points in the game, 8 turnovers as well, but 23 rebounds. So despite not being able to put up shots, 5 of 16 from the field, 0 of 3 from three-point range, and missing 5 free throws as well, still somehow coming down with 23 rebounds, and the next person on his team was Chris Middleton with 9. So it wasn't a complete disaster by Giannis Antetokounmpo. I believe maybe Shannon Sharp gave him like a D-. I wouldn't give him that. I'd give him a D+. Okay, so not much better. We get 23 rebounds. You did something well, but the 8 turnovers and the missed shots definitely were not ideal. But George Hill showed up huge, 24 points off the bench, 7 and 9 from field goal. Malcolm Brogdon, 20 points off of the bench as well, but ultimately the game came down to Kawhi Leonard, who hit clutch bucket after clutch bucket in the fourth quarter, in the overtime periods, and ultimately leading his team to the victory. 36 points for him, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 11 to 25 from the field. Pascal Siakam, my boy Siakam, came through with 25 points, 9 of 18 from the field, and also 11 rebounds to go with that. But if you're the Raptors, are you more optimistic or pessimistic today? Okay, because look, man, Giannis had probably the worst game he's going to have in these NBA playoffs. I do not believe that Giannis is going to have a worse game in these playoffs. Do you really believe Giannis is going to put up 12 points again? only shoot less than 33% again, have 8 turnovers in a game in these playoffs. Again, he hasn't had a game close to this before. He had a game, I want to say, where he finished under 20 points, maybe even a couple, but the Bucks won those games anyway. He just got tired of scoring. He was just like, well, everyone else saw it. I'll just let everyone else score today, right? This was him specifically playing awful, whereas he has not had a bad game like this the entire playoffs. So if he plays this bad and the Raptors can only force a double overtime, you must wonder, man, do the Raptors really have a chance winning this series? And I have the Bucks winning this series in 6 games, and I like that prediction right now. Right? If the Raptors can just get one more win, that prediction will be right for me. But man, you gotta get the feeling that the Bucks are gonna come out in game 4, as long as they're not too tired, and get that one done. But you never know. I mean, we might get good games from, Fred VanVleet, who's been so awful. I mean, he's 1 of 11 in this game, 1 of 8 from 3, and he hits a very clutch 3. I want to say the end of the 4th quarter. Maybe it was in overtime. I want to say 4th quarter, though. But he's been awful. Danny Green's not been consistent. Marc Gasol finally had a good game, but he hasn't been there. Maybe they all show up in game 4, but are they going to beat the Bucks 4 times? No, it's just not going to happen. I'm guaranteeing, and I think we're all on the same page there. It's just not going to happen, but at least they got a victory here. It makes things a little bit compelling, but I cannot say the same for the Warriors and Blazers. Let's go ahead and get into that, as the Golden State Warriors take a 3-0 lead in the Western Conference Finals. Game 4 will be tonight, Monday night, and that game's going to tip off in about 3 hours from when I'm recording this podcast. And I was doing live coverage on the Sports Fan Entertainment YouTube channel, watching and covering this game. And my goodness, I cannot believe for the 2nd consecutive game that the Portland Trail Blazers absolutely blew the lead. They're up 13 points at the end of the first half, 66-53 at the end of the first half against Portland. In the end of the first half in game 2, they're up 65-50, up 15 points there. Both leads reduced to nothing within the 3rd quarter, and then ultimately losing the game in the 4th quarter, and I just couldn't believe it. And you look at the Golden State Warriors and the conversation that is now beginning, and deservedly so. Are they better without Kevin Durant? And they have a better point differential in these playoffs without Kevin Durant than with Kevin Durant. The Warriors in their past 30 games without Kevin Durant and with Steph Curry are a shocking 29-1. And you just look at them and how they play. Steph Curry is so consistent, so good. And this is what people aren't taking into consideration. Yes, Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston are worse than they were 3 years ago when Kevin Durant was not on the team, when they went 73-9. Large part of that, Iguodala was still a damn good player. Now he's not. He's in the lower end of his career. And Livingston was still a damn good bench player. Now he's not. He's lucky if he even scores 3 buckets in a game. But Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson are better. They're better players. They're older, more experienced, better shooters, more efficient. Steph Curry was an MVP candidate to begin this season before Kevin Durant took more of an offense, or more of a role in the offense, I should say. Steph Curry is so efficient from 3. He's so aggressive. He's found his range in terms of being able to shoot easily, next to the rim, mid-range jumper, and then 3-point range run. You know how dangerous he is from there, but now he's able to pick his spots, any one of those zones, anytime he wants to, is able to eat anywhere from there. Klay, whenever he's aggressive, whenever they give him the ball, right now they're running these lineups where Steph Curry's on the bench, Klay Thompson is the only shot creator on the court, and a guy that is not normally known for being able to shoot off of the dribble is now showing some moves, getting to his spots in the mid-range, shooting these drifting fadeaway jumpers in the mid-range, going inside, dunking it home a couple of times, shooting these quick 3s off the ball. We know what he's able to do in terms of him just catch and shoot guy, but now you're just seeing him lead these bench units, leading Quinn Cook and Kevon Looney in these periods with Stephen Curry on the bench. Has been really great to see. And again, it just goes to show these guys have improved. They're in their prime now, right? Steph Curry was still ascending when Kevin Durant joined the team. Klay Thompson was still ascending. And I would also argue he's still ascending now. Like, they're peaking now. They're better now than they were 3 years ago when they went 73-9. These two individual players, and that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Because at the end of the day, both of these games were available for either team to claim as their own at the end of the game, okay? So easily, Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, despite having blown those leads, okay, despite having blown those first half leads, could have came in the fourth quarter and rallied, could have coalesced and said, okay, despite our difficulties, let's try to come together. Let's grab this game. Let's grab these brass rings for our own and say we're not losing this game at home, or we're not losing this pivotal game in Golden State to try to tie this series, try to steal one in Oracle. And they couldn't get it done, whereas Curry and Klay could, because they have the wherewithal. They have the championship experience, and they also have Draymond Green, who has elevated his play without Kevin Durant. People, we saw at the beginning of this season, Kevin Durant was pissed at Draymond Green because he failed to pass the ball to him against the LA Clippers in a late game situation to end regulation. That was a game that the Warriors, I want to say, ended up losing to the Clippers in regulation. You saw them going back and forth, heated conversation. Draymond saying, we don't need you. And now that Kevin Durant on the court, what is Draymond doing? He's attacking the rim. Do you know how valuable it was at the end of the first half in Game 3? The Warriors were reeling. They went down by as much as 18 points, and Draymond Green kept putting his head down, going to the rim, trying to get easy buckets, trying to get to the free throw line, trying to keep his team's hopes alive, consistently and effectively doing so, and kept them within range. If he did not do that, I don't think Curry would have done it or Klay would have done it in that moment. They would have ended up being down by 25, 26, 27, 28. Draymond kept it to 18, kept it to 16, got it down to 14, and then allowed them to come back in the second half with his consistent effort defensively, coming down with steals, coming down with blocks. He's still arguing calls, but not getting technical fouls, so he's adding value there. At least he's not, hurting the Warriors in that aspect as he has been throughout the seasons past, and especially this season in the regular season. He's been on his game. He's been focused. He's been talking about in the press conferences, him trying to instill a better, a better attitude in this team for his children, because he knows his children have been watching with him and flopping at home. That's what he's been talking about in the press conferences. So he's been giving his best effort, and it's all culminating in the Warriors currently up 3-0 against the Portland Trail Blazers. And I had the Warriors winning this series in 6 games. I felt very comfortable that they would win this series because I've never seen the Warriors lose to the Blazers when they really tried. Like, I just felt like the Warriors have always had the Blazers number in this Lillard, McCollum, Curry, Klay era. I've just never seen the Warriors really struggle with the Blazers. I know the Blazers even won, I want to say they won the season matchup or series matchup this season. I want to say, yeah, they probably beat them 2-1 or whatever. But even in those matchups, I just never really felt like the Warriors were really trying. When Curry and Klay want to, they can beat Lillard and McCollum like that because they're better players. At the end of the day, they're better players. Curry is better than Lillard by far, and Klay is better than McCollum by far because Lillard and McCollum play no defense. I mean, they're so awful defensively, especially Damian Lillard. And I love Damian Lillard. He hits his big shots, these big, deep threes to cinch teams, 2 teams. He's absolutely killed. He killed the San Antonio Spurs, and he absolutely killed the Oklahoma City Thunder, absolutely cinched them with these buzzer-beating, game-winning shots. I'm with you there. But, dude, this guy has to play some damn defense sometime. Steph Curry is going off, and Damian Lillard is nowhere to be found. And it also sucks that the Portland Trail Blazers decided to give up over $10 million a year for Evan Turner, Mo Harkless, and Al-Farouq Aminu each. I mean, they're paying each of these guys over $10 million per year for what? For absolutely nothing. So they're getting what they're deserving there. Now, luckily, they're getting a lot of Enes Kanter for only like $800,000. So they're making up some value there, but they wasted their money there. And Damian Lillard can't play defense, McCollum can't play defense, and they also can't show up in these most critical moments against these veterans, these championship mindsets of Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Good luck. They're not getting it done. And this is what happens at the end of the day. The Golden State Warriors up 3-0. And we're going to have an entertaining NBA Finals, even if it's the Raptors that come back and beat the Bucks, although I highly doubt it. I'm expecting it to be the Warriors versus the Bucks. I think it's going to be entertaining, but you have to feel right now, man, the championship medal that the Golden State Warriors have with or without Kevin Durant, it just seems like no teams in the NBA currently are on that level. And we're really looking at something really prolific and profound here with the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that is very inexperienced, coming off of a very upsetting exit to last year's playoffs, to now being able to go as deep as they have and potentially to the NBA Finals. Will they be able to go all the way and win it, having beat this Golden State Warriors dynasty? I'm having more and more concerns about that and questions about that. We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, but you have to love how the Golden State Warriors are looking right now. And with that said, we move to the final topic of the day as we have Magic Johnson. Oh my goodness gracious, here we go. Magic Johnson. Now, people, I am a Los Angeles Laker fan. Okay, for better or for worse, this is what I am. And I have to watch this clown make the rounds at ESPN today, going on First Take. I think he was on Sports Center as well, talking about Rob Pelinka was saying this. He was backstabbing me. He was going behind my back, saying I was never in the building, and I didn't like that, so I left. Now, I don't know why everyone loves Magic Johnson so damn much. I know why people like him. I like him. Okay, or at least I used to. Now that's starting to become more and more questionable. But I like him, okay? He's a likable guy. He has this magic smile. Okay, whatever. That's all great. But my goodness, he can't do squat. And he's not nearly as smart as people make him out to be. I don't even think I call him smart. Is he smart, really? He's had a lot of business disasters that we know of. But luckily, he has it in Magic Johnson. He has the personality attributed to it. So he'll at least always have an amount of things, a number of things that as long as he puts in X amount of effort, some level amount of effort, because his name is Magic Johnson and because he has a reputation associated with him, because he has a popularity associated with him, that thing will become successful. So if he invests in an energy drink, it's going to become probably more successful than it was. He'll make money off of that. If he, buys a part of the Dodgers, that's going to increase his value. He's made money off of that. I don't think he's that smart of a guy. And when it comes to basketball, that was on display consistently. With the decisions that was made in LA, he came in and he shipped off D'Angelo Russell. And luckily for the Lakers, they got Kyle Kuzma with one of those picks. Okay, or that D'Angelo Russell trade would have been a complete and total disaster. But they could have took Kuzma anyway. Because assuming, and this is an assumption, but I feel comfortable making this assumption. Right? Because I remember the trade was D'Angelo Russell and Timofey Mozgov to the Nets in exchange for their number 27 pick. And I can't remember who else it was, or if it was another pick. But I remember the number 27 pick. That was like the main thing. And maybe it was like an expiring contract or something like that. So, the assumption is, if we do not do that trade, will the Nets, with that 27th pick, take Kyle Kuzma? Now, I will assume, and I feel comfortable assuming that they will not have, that there are enough options. There's that late in the draft, the possibilities of a team taking a certain player are quite low. So I feel comfortable saying they would not have taken Kyle Kuzma. And the Lakers, who took Kyle Kuzma with that pick, the 27th pick, would have easily have taken Kyle Kuzma with the 28th pick because they had the 28th pick. So they could have had D'Angelo Russell on the team with Kyle Kuzma, who they would have drafted, Brandon Ingram still would have been there, still would have signed LeBron James, and you still could have had a good team there. That would have been a playoff team. Looking at how D'Angelo Russell finally ascended to becoming an all-star caliber player this season in the East. Now, in the West, probably someone would have been an all-star player, but you saw his potential, and I always knew he was going to be a good player. People are just too quick with these rookies. I really need to read about that in another day. But people are so eager when it comes to these young NBA players. Why isn't Ben Simmons good yet? Why isn't D'Angelo Russell good yet? Because they're young. Why isn't Donovan Mitchell winning in the playoffs? Dude, you know how hard it is to win young in the NBA? Even when old. Chris Paul's been in the league for over a decade. He can't win squat. Okay, so I don't want to hear about why can't they win. Oh, Ben Simmons is in his second year, and he only made the second round of the playoffs, and he was only a shot away from making the conference finals. He needs to do more. It's his second damn year. Give him some damn time. People are just so, oh my God, people when it comes to these young NBA players. But anyway. So he failed on that. That's a failure. Because regardless, D'Angelo Russell's a better player than Kyle Kuzma today, tomorrow, next year, the year after that, and for N years to come. Forever. Okay? Forever. So that was a fail. Outside of that, he brought in LeBron James, who was coming anyway. Okay, he didn't care if it was Magic Johnson, if it was MJ, who you're listening to right now. He didn't care if it was Michael Jackson. He was gonna come to the LA Lakers. Okay, that was just gonna happen anyway. He wants to executive produce this. He wants to act in that. He wants to be a stunt double for this. He wants to be in a porno for that. That was always going to happen. Okay, so that he comes to LA, that's his one claim to fame. He begins these rumors for Anthony Davis. He can't keep anything in-house, and maybe that was Rob Pelinka, but whatever. The Lakers failed to make the playoffs after Magic made all these promises about making the playoffs. We expect to make the playoffs, and then he's out. And then he can't take the heat in the kitchen, and he leaves, and he's gone, and I'm supposed to respect him for that, and I can't. You know how much I would give to run an NBA franchise? You know what kind of a wet dream that is for me? Oh my God, if I could run an NBA franchise. Give me that opportunity. I will be there in a moment, in a second, in a breath. I'm there already. Okay? Wow. And he absolutely left the franchise. He couldn't take the heat in the kitchen. He couldn't take the heat in the kitchen when he was a host of his TV show. That was an absolute disaster. Magic is not nearly as smart as everyone makes him out to be. So now Magic is gone, but he's competing. Rob Pelinka's doing this. Rob Pelinka's doing that. And the Lakers are just a damn joke. No one's coming here in the offseason unless if Kemba Walker is just eager for some LA stardom, or Jimmy Butler is eager for some LA stardom. They're going to trade for Kyle Lowry, okay, or maybe even Mike Conley, and it's just going to be a damn disaster. And I was so close when I was watching this NBA draft lottery, and we might get into the lottery a little bit too, but I was watching this NBA draft lottery. The Lakers ascend to a top 4 pick. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. We're talking top 4 pick for the LA Lakers. Let's go. Okay, let's go. What happens? They only get the number 4 pick in a top 3 draft. In a draft where it is so heavy for the top 3 players in RJ Barrett, John Morant, and the prized possession Zion Williamson. They end up number 4. Okay, in a team that is all in on LeBron James. And look, I don't know if the Sixers would do this deal. Today, I'm trading LeBron for Ben Simmons. I'm saying, okay, screw this LeBron crap. No one's coming in the offseason. We have a good young core right now. I'm not a big Lonzo Ball fan. I'm a big Brandon Ingram fan, assuming the blood clot stuff is all right. Okay, Kyle Kuzma, I like him. And now we have the number 4 pick. Let's get Ben Simmons in here, or let's trade LeBron for somebody. Bradley Beal, hey, Wizards, y'all want LeBron? Bradley Beal for LeBron. Let's get another young ascending player in here right now. We do that immediately. You draft either, to me, Darius Garland or Cam Reddish with the number 4 pick. Now we're talking. Let's say we got Ben Simmons, we got Cam Reddish, we got Brandon Ingram, we got Kyle Kuzma, we got Lonzo Ball off the stupid bench. Okay, young ascending team in the West, and they're still going to have to get a star player in a year or two, but Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram I think would be a hell of a duo. They were the top 2 picks in the 2016 NBA draft. I'm not a huge Cameron Reddish fan, but I think he can improve, and I'd be okay with Darius Garland as well, but it's hard because Simmons is a point guard at this point, so that's tough. I will grant that. But let's say if you traded Beal for LeBron for Beal, then you have Garland, who I really like. I do like Darius Garland. I like him more and more as I actually scout him. So Garland, let's say Garland, Beal, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball off the bench. Boom, we're talking. That's a good young team in the West. And it still has a ways to go. Okay, still has a ways to go. You got to pick up Giannis Antetokounmpo in like 2 years or something. But at least you're off to a good start. Good young team right next to the Sacramento Kings. Right next to the Sacramento Kings if you make that type of move. But they won't. Because they're all in on LeBron James. You're going to trade everything for Anthony Davis, or at least they're going to try. But the Anthony Davis screw, or the New Orleans Pelicans, they're not really down for that. They would rather get Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knickerbockers, right? So apparently they don't want to make business with the LA Lakers, although they clearly have the best deal on the damn table. So, it's just a damn disaster in LA, and I'm going to continue to watch this absolute debacle as it proceeds over the upcoming weeks. So I don't want to continue to spend too much time on it now. I'm sure there'll be plenty more ridiculous headlines that will continue to exude from the foray, over the upcoming weeks, because my goodness, we're just getting started in the NBA offseason. In fact, it hasn't actually officially started. Not for the playoff teams. It has for teams like the LA Lakers that find themselves in the lottery. So let's get to the lottery a little bit and then we'll get out of here. So Zion Williamson is going to the New Orleans Pelicans, and damn it. I'm not looking forward to this. I don't care about this. I would have much preferred to have seen him in Memphis, because at least Memphis deserves a number 1 pick. Memphis deserves a number 1 pick. Yeah, Memphis, because Memphis hasn't had a high pick in forever. They drafted this power forward, I can't remember his name, Jaren Jackson Jr., who's actually all right. But outside of that, they haven't had a top pick in a while. They could actually use this guy. Memphis finally has an attraction. A good player down in Memphis. The Grizzlies are kind of relevant again. But the Pelicans had their shot. They had Anthony Davis. They blew it. They had Chris Paul. They blew it. No more shots for you. No. You burned 2 of these last opportunities. 2 strikes. You're out. 2. You don't need another one. In fact, I'll give you a 3rd one. They drafted Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield is good. Buddy Hield averaged over 20 points a game this season. Not for New Orleans, for Sacramento, because they traded him out of New Orleans for about 2.5 months of Boogie Cousins. They say we'd rather have 2.5 months of Boogie Cousins than the young ascending Buddy Hield. And if they would have had Buddy Hield on this team last season, they would have made the playoffs. I'll tell you right now, they would have made the playoffs. If you put Anthony Davis, Buddy Hield, Jrue Holiday on the same team, which they were, they would have made the playoffs this season. Oh, and Julius Randle as well. Let's not forget about Julius Randle. Buddy Hield is what they needed this season. They needed some damn outside shooting. You looked at the Pelicans and said, damn, what do they need? Oh yeah, some outside shooting. Wait, didn't they draft one of the best shooters to come out of the damn NBA draft a couple years ago? Where'd he go? Oh yeah, we traded him away for 2.5 months and a pack of Skittles of Boogie Cousins. I just don't get it. So they buried themselves. They dug their own grave. They had their shot. They had the opportunity. They blew it. No more New Orleans Pelicans. And they win the damn lottery. And I don't even want the Knicks. I know everyone's a big Knicks. I would have liked to see them on the Knicks. It would have been fun, interesting. Lakers, I know I'm a Laker fan, I'm a little biased, but it would have been interesting. Chicago Bulls would have been very interesting. Oh snap, this guy doesn't play like Michael Jordan, but he's going to be the next Jordan in terms of a guy that's going to come to the Bulls and lead them, to this place and that place, and let's see what's going to happen. A new star in Chicago. Derrick Rose in Chicago was fun. Remember that? Dude, that was fun. They never made the NBA Finals. They even made the conference finals. I want to say they did once, right? But it was still fun. It was memorable. There were some good moments out of that. Anthony Davis for the Pelicans? Nah. Chris Paul for the Hornets? Nah. They had like one series where they pushed the Lakers to like 6 games, and that was like the height of height of Chris Paul's time with the Hornets. That was the height of it. That was like the most entertaining the Hornets were. And they had David West, and they had, that's all I remember from that team, honestly. But yeah, that was the best it was. Oh, they had Emeka Okafor. Okay. I mean, seriously, New Orleans had their shot. Like, and it's not because I hate the city of New Orleans. I visited New Orleans during spring break. It's great. Mardi Gras, it was fantastic. The New Orleans Saints, if anyone goes to the Saints, no one's complaining because we trust the Saints. I don't trust the Pelicans. It's a horrible franchise. It's horribly run. Everyone gets sucked down there, stays there, does their prison time there, and leave in 7-8 years. It happened with Anthony Davis. It's going to happen with Zion Williamson. Happened with Chris Paul. It's going to happen with Zion Williamson. Happened with Buddy Hield. It's going to happen with Zion Williamson. And I'm sick of it. And I got to sit here and I got to watch it again. And I don't want to. I don't want to watch this. I already watched this story. I already watched this movie. Let's put in something new. But this is what we got. All right. So this brings us to the end of the MJ Tape podcast. And real quick, one segment that we're not going to have today, but we're going to have in episodes future, is hashtag What's Your MJ Take? Okay, so this is going to be a mailbag segment where you can ask me for life advice. So I want you guys to send in questions to the MJ Take podcast at gmail.com, and in the subject, okay, have at least starting the subject the word mailbag, okay, and a semicolon, mailbag, semicolon, and then the subject of your email, okay? So life advice, career advice, relationship advice, and we're going to keep this kind of funny, okay? So don't make it too sad, or I may just not pick it, but I will give it good advice as well. I'll probably do it in a comedic way, but I'll give good advice on here. So if your life is in such shambles, you need help from a 22-damn-year-old that has no idea what he's doing in life himself, go ahead and send in mailbag questions to the MJ Tape podcast at gmail.com. So there you have it. This is the first installment, the pilot, the beginning of the MJ Tape podcast presented by Sports Fan Entertainment on youtube.com, iTunes, and eventually Spotify. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment down below. We're going to bring in some other people on this podcast from time to time, some guests, have some more segments, some more official segments. I just wanted to send out this first installment, get my feet wet, really just get comfortable posting this in terms of iTunes and Spotify, and really trying to get verified for that process. And then we'll add all the effects and all the glitz and glamour and grandeur that you all require. Until next time, this has been MJ, and I'm out. See you all later.